Hi guys, thanks for joining my YouTube channel. Well, I'm sure you all are aware of the disparaging things that Martel HOLT has said publicly about Melody Cherie. I'm sure you all are up in arms as I am. I have been sitting on this because this is heart-wrenching. This is very serious. Again, as I've indicated, this stuff never goes away. Okay? This information is pertaining to the Holt children. And Martel has said some disparaging things about their mother. Martel goes on to indicate that he wants Melody to leave him alone. Okay? This is his opinion. This is all his perspective. He thinks Melody is talking derogatory about him. He thinks Melody is being disrespectful in her lives, and when she does interviews, he assumes, he's under the impression that, she's still talking about him in a negative light, and he has not talked negatively about her for some time now. Okay, we're going to get to it. I'm trying to just give you his side of the story, okay, because I want to chime in. Because, Martel, when you were doing your interviews, and I said this to you, whether you heard it or not, you can't want to move forward. It's a tit for tat. You can't want to move story regurgitating this story. You cannot. But to each his own. I say the same thing with Melody. But this stuff, this is what it's going to be. People want to do interviews. People are going to continue to regurgitate this story. This is the story. People are intrigued by this story. We're talking over almost 2 years divorced. This story is going to live on. This story is going to live on. This story got Melody in front of TMZ. This story got Melody in front of the Shade Room. This is all good publicity for her. This is all, even though it's negative, but to some people, any publicity is good publicity. So she doesn't see anything wrong with stating the facts, telling her truth. This happened to her, and she has a right to it. She has a right to tell her truth. What happened in her marriage, the breakdown of her marriage. Martel's story may be different. So when he does his interviews, you're going to get his side. You're going to get a different story. There's always 3 sides to a story. Her side, his side, and the truth. Period. Like it or lump it. She's speaking to her audience, her demographic, her fans, and he's speaking to his. And he's trying to persuade and to prove a point. And Martel, it's really far gone for that. It's really late for that. It's really late for that. So he goes on to say how since the divorce, Melody has had 24 different people caring for their kids, with an exception of a few of them being family members, okay? When she had to go out of town, out of state, she had different engagement, different gigs. She had business opportunities, money-making opportunities, whatever they were, vacations. She left, according to Martel, her children in the care of 24 different people. with exceptions. I'm going to assume their grandmother, his mother. Well, I don't know if Mel would have his mother babysit, but Melody's mother, her brother, Marcus's husband, I'm sure her best friend, I forget her name. I'm sure she's been a part of it. And I don't know. I don't know if Dawn, I doubt if Dawn, the manager, got involved in that. However, he seems to think it was 24 people with a few exceptions being family members. Okay, fine. He said, Marcus was in Huntsville keeping the kids and he was not made aware of it. Okay, I think he said it was for 2 days. I believe he said it was for 2 days. Marcus was there for 2 days while Melody flew out to another state. I guess he got wind of it. He spoke to her about it. And, whatever the talk was, he says, she responded, no, she does what she wants. She doesn't have to answer to him. When her kids are with her, she's at liberty to do what she wants with her kids. If she feels they're safe, if she feels like she wants to leave them with her village, with people to care for her kids, that's what she's going to do. You understand? And then he says 2 weeks later, he gets wind that his kids was left with Marcus's husband. You understand? He's saying, Mel and I have discussed this. I asked her, could men not care for my children alone, unattended? Not that I think something is wrong with Marcus and his husband or they're bad people. He didn't indicate this, but I'm going to include this, not because they're homosexual or they're gay. That's not the reasoning. I don't want men babysitting my daughters or my son alone, with no supervision. He says, I've discussed this with Mel countless amounts of times. When we were together, we were both on the same page about this. But now, she seemed to have forgotten this or she doesn't care. So she's allowed them to, babysit my children. Okay. He has to deal with it because he really doesn't have a say if the children are with her that week. He addressed the issue. If she says it's my prerogative, I do what I want with my kids. When they're with you, you do what you want, whatever, So I don't know if this is part of his suit, to bring this up to the judge. I don't know how, a judge would handle this. And if he has a right to not want, his kids in the care of certain individuals. You understand? Whether homophobic or not, you can't prove that. This is like systemic racism. Just because he's saying he doesn't want men who happens to be gay to babysit his kids, you understand? I don't know if hopefully he'd feel the same way about their uncle, which is his brother, who is not known to be gay. But, that's because he hasn't come out and said he was gay. You never know if somebody's gay or straight unless they come out with this information. You could assume all you want, but with no proof, you don't know if they're gay or straight. He happens to know that Marcus and his husband, are gay. Now, he's saying it has nothing to do with their sexuality. I don't want men caring for my kids unattended. That's his perspective. Okay, so he says, she went out to another state. Marcus kept them. He spoke to her about it. She said, it's, I do what I want with my kids, so on and so forth. And then a couple weeks later, he says Marcus's husband kept the kids. Now, why Marcus' husband kept them and not Marcus being their uncle, I don't know. Maybe Marcus had to go to work, or he had prior engagement. I don't know. This is what Martel indicated. Okay. Also, he said, that was a bogus, lie, that she tends to, say anything, I guess people would say, for clicks and views for, her audience, because he told his kids that they were eating lunch at school, and that wasn't the first time. You understand? Many kids eat lunch as per Martel, which is correct. Many kids eat lunch at school. And, he's saying, I don't spoil my kids. My kids are not too good to eat lunch at school. If that's what their mother does when they're at home with her, more power to her. But I allow them to eat school lunch. Now, he did not say that he's aware of Mariah's disdain for school lunch. Okay, we could get into that. We've gotten into it. A lot of kids have told their parents, I don't want to eat school lunch, blase, blase, depending on the parent, depending on the parent. Most parents have told they have the final say. They've told their kids, you're going to eat school lunch, or some have even said you're going to starve. And they feel like if the kid gets hungry enough, they're going to eat the school lunch. Some parents have took it upon themselves to, make sure there's lunch available at the house. Depending on the age, they've prepared the lunch. They've prepared their children's lunch, or allowed their children to prepare their lunch. Some parents have went that distance to say, I don't want my kids being hungry all day at school. If they told me they don't want school lunch, then they don't have to eat school lunch. Some parents have taken that take on it. Again, other parents have said, you're not entitled. Kids are entitled. Kids are copying other kids. Most kids, I will vouch, my kids did the same thing. They don't want to eat school lunch, whether you pay for the lunch or if it's free. Whether you pay the minimum $1.25, $2.25 for the lunch, and they bill you at the end of the week or the end of the month. Some kids do not want to eat school lunch. You understand? And some mom and dads don't give their kids that option to decide whether they're going to eat school or lunch or not. They don't give them those type of choices. Some parents do. Okay? And so Martel, he did not indicate if sometimes he packs a lunch. Maybe, I don't know. He never indicated. All he's saying is that my kids eat school lunch. And when they're with me, if I tell them they're going to eat school lunch, he never differentiated, oh, my kids are allergic, or they can't, or they refuse, and they're going to be hungry. He never said. You understand? Now, I will give it to him that maybe sometimes he does pack a lunch. If he's up to it, if, as a treat, I don't know. But he's saying that I'm the type of parent where my kids don't make these kinds of decisions. If I told them that they were going to eat school lunch, that's what it was. Now, with it being the first day of school, their mom happened to be at the school, and they told her that I didn't pack a lunch. She deemed it necessary to go home, pack a lunch, and bring her kids lunch. And she took off to, Vegas that same day. Now, the question is asked, will Martel keep his stance? Did he tell his kids that they were eating school lunch for the additional 4 days? Because Melody was out of town. So who was going to bring them lunch from home? If their father was stern on them eating lunch at school. Now, maybe he packed lunch for the additional 4 days, but maybe he didn't. Maybe he didn't. So, did the kids starve, or one or two of the kids, did they just not eat until they got home? Maybe. I mean, what is the other option? Mel was out of town. She was out of state. Unless the grandmother, she told the grandmother to foresee and to make sure. I don't know how that would happen. Like I said, this would have to be a every other week thing when they're with Martel. She would have to either send lunch to make sure her kids have lunch, or she would have to adjust her schedule to, contact them every day that they're with him, or the school, to ensure that he packed them a lunch. And if not, she's going to have to make sure they get their lunch. Okay, so he talked about that, how he didn't forget their kids' lunch. He simply told them that they were going to eat lunch at school. He also said that he's up in court. He's 4-0 with her, 2-0 or 4-0. But however, she's lost whatever court appearances that they've had. She made allegations on him. He said that, she abused Tank, as everyone is aware of. She said that he beat him in the head profusely, until he started bleeding. And instead of her contacting him as the other parent to find out what happened to his head, if anything, I don't know if something happened, really to his head, if he fell or what. He didn't indicate that. But instead of her getting Martel's side of the story, I don't know what Tank told his mother, but Martel said that Melody contacted her lawyer. And probably, quite naturally, he didn't say, well, he did say the kids was taken away from him. And that's when he was not able to see his kids for 56 days. You understand? So I'm assuming he did not say that DCF got involved. Okay? And there were court orders, probably order protections, and, they left the kids in Mel's custody. And he's saying that Mel caused him not to see his kids because she made up a lie. That's what I'm getting. You may differ from what I'm getting from the story, and the story is here for you to read. Okay, I'm just, pretty much summarizing what he's saying, what he said in his post. Okay, so he touched on the allegations of abuse. He said, my kid/kids. So I don't know if there were other allegations made, but, we know that there were allegations made about Tank. And so he said, my kids, meaning that maybe some other things happened in the past. He said he's suing her for full custody because of that fact and other things. And, the situation about her leaving their children with all of these different sitters that he's not happy about. And simply that his mother is too busy. Their mother is too busy to care for, that's no reason to take a mother's children from her or try to file for full custody. If the mother has to work to make ends meet, there has to be some sort of compromise. A judge will not, I repeat, a judge will not deem a mom or a dad unfit because they are working to care and take care of their household and their children. I've never been through it, so I don't know how a judge would handle this situation, but I'm almost certain that there has to be some other forms of neglect other than her leaving her children with different babysitters. You understand? So again, these are serious allegations This is going, we know it's been gone too far. It is a mystery again because, Mel and Martel has had outings with the kids. They've stayed in the same dwellings with all of this stuff going on. It's being said that Martel's, agenda backfired, that he wanted to get back with his family and that Mel, when she let him down, he went for broke. Here he is again trying to disgrace her name. You know, who knows? Who knows what happened? I mean, I know feelings are raw. Feelings can get involved. I don't want to go into that arena. I don't want to go into that arena about, you know, feelings getting involved and people getting the wrong impression, which is things that happen. I'm not saying that's what happened, but I don't know. He said they did try to work on their relationship, but again, the damage was too deep. There's too much hurt. There's too much pain. There's too much animosity, bitterness. They're both working toward healing. Mel seems to feel like she's more healed than Martel. You know, um, he doesn't like, and he insists that she's talking derogatory about him. I don't know if he's referring to her telling the Shade Room or TMZ, one of the outlets, that he hasn't matured, he hasn't healed, so he should not be dating. You understand? He has not grew up from the boy who cheated on his wife for 7 years, or however many years. So, she did publicly say that. Now, if he took that, if he got offended about that, I mean, hey, you know what I'm saying? There's plenty to be offended by. She could have been offended by your interview with, ministry, going back, revving that whole story back up, and it's just a lot. And I spoke to that fact that, and it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard because, it's lucrative. It's derogatory. It's negative, but it makes money. It makes money. And these outlets are not going to do an interview without touching on that. You understand? They want to rev that back up because they want the views as well. So guys, give me your take on this. Give me your take on this. Is Martel just a flat out liar? Have you already made up in your mind that these are lies? That he's just lying on Melody? Is it just plain as day? Is it plain as day? Does he have a right to decide who cares for his kids when they're not in his presence? Is that part of parenting? Does the other parent have a right to make a say or have a say on, who babysits their children when it's not their week? Or do you agree that he should have first preference if he has a problem with who is caring for the children? Should Mel, and I understand why Mel does not do this, because she wants to take the power from him. She doesn't want Martel thinking that he has that kind of power to distinguish what goes on in her household or with her time with her children. And I don't blame her. So I believe that's, again, my opinion. I believe that's why she's not going to him every time she has an engagement to say, hey, Martel, can you keep the kids? Because, we've talked about them going with I'm sure it's no problem with her mom or whatever, but whoever, he's saying 20 something different people. That's a lot. That's a lot. But I'm sure she's not communicating this with him every time she has an engagement because, she feels like he wants to control her in every situation regarding their children. And so she's taken the power back from him. And she'll handle it on her own along with her village. So, guys, I need your take on this. Let's discuss this down in the comments. Does Martel have a right to determine, who keeps his kids? And, the situation with him being accused of abusing Tank, and how Boss Baby cried for Melody twice after these allegations were brought up, as Martel being an abusive dad, that Boss Baby, would kill to go with her father at one point. But after that, he's saying that she cries to go home to Melody, like as if she's scared of her father. Let me have your take on that, guys. I mean, this has gotten blown up. This situation is huge. This situation is huge. And I think I've covered everything. Let me just make sure I have it. Again, like I said, do you consider Martel homophobic? Because he indicates that he doesn't want men taking care of his children unattended. Men who happen to be gay, or would he feel that way about any man? I.e. his brother, or his dad. Would he feel the same way about his brother or his dad caring for he and Melody's children while, nobody else is overseeing them, unattended, alone? Do you think he would have the same perspective if it was his family members who happened to be gay or happened to be straight? He never indicated that it had anything to do with them being gay. But of course, it's being noted that that was a homophobic statement because everyone knows that they're gay. And they're assuming that he doesn't want his kids taken care of by either one of them because they are gay. He never said that, but this is what is being assumed by the public's jury. So, also, that's what I forgot. Do you believe that Martel should be canceled? This was brought up some time ago when the cancellation came out about Wanda, because the people said he should be canceled because any information that Wanda was spewing or got came from Martel. How do you feel about this information? Will you support the cause, the petition to kick Martel off of the show for being disrespectful, for degrading and saying these derogatory things about his ex-wife concerning his children? Will you support the petition, or do you think the petition is fair to ask to have Martel kicked off of the show with him being, another producer, the same as Mel? They both bought the idea to Carlos King. How do you feel about that situation? Thanks again, guys, for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And leave your comments down below if you have something you want to speak about concerning this situation. Thank you.